You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
PackersTalk.com.
You're listening to No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Radio Network, your home for in-depth and thoughtful Packers analysis. I'm your host, Gil Martin. My co-host is my good friend, Sean Teahan. In addition to this show, I write for the PackersPost.com and Cheesehead TV. Sean was a TV sportscaster in Minnesota. We're here to talk Packers because you're all here for one thing, and that's a love for Green Bay football. And Sean, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, as I know that I did, and I know that the Packers did.
I certainly did, Gil. And Thanksgiving dinner or lunch or whatever you want to call it was kind of delayed because of that Packer game on Thursday. But I'm glad I I'm glad I waited on dinner to get that meal inside me after the Packers clinched that game. But the Packers, they return home this weekend, and that's a good time to talk about our sponsor, Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, they've been providing Packers tickets to Packer fans as well as Bucks, Brewers, and Summerfest tickets. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com. That's theticketking.com. You can see the link right there on your screen. You can visit their locations also in Green Bay and Milwaukee. And you can watch every episode of No Huddle Radio on Packers Talk Network on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, type Packers Talk Network in the search bar, click on the PackersTalk.com link with the green background, the yellow goalpost, click on the bell, subscribe, turn notifications on, join the discussion, chat with us live. And Gil, there is a lot to discuss where the Chicago Bears are coming into town. We're in week 13 now, and this is the first time that these two teams are meeting. It's going to be the first time in the next 3 weeks these teams are meeting. But Gil, a big loss, though, from that Thanksgiving game on the final defensive play of the game. Defensive tackle Devonte Wyatt gets rolled up on the ankle, the leg. It was just a bad combination of stuff. He's pretty much done for the year. Matt LaFleur confirmed that earlier this week, and he's not technically on IR yet, but he's probably going to go on IR very soon. It's a huge loss. Devonte Wyatt was probably having his best season as a pro so far. 4 sacks on the interior, was really a nice presence in the pass rush, especially for Green Bay. Gil, how do you replace the loss that void that Devonte Wyatt creates in the interior D-line?
It is not going to be easy. What's going to have to happen is one of two things. Either somebody is going to have to step up and do something they haven't proven yet that they can do on a consistent basis, or it's going to be replacement by committee. And I think we start with replacement by committee, and if somebody shows they've got more than what they've shown so far, they'll probably be, the next man up, so to speak.
And if you want to take a positive out of this, where the Packers' run defense overall has been pretty good. Colby Wooden's been pretty stout against the run. Nazir Stackhouse has not been bad against the run either. So run defense, Devonte Wyatt wasn't really much of he's a good run defender, but he's not a premier run defender at D-line, but his pass rush ability is unbelievable. Carl Brooks, we saw this guy get 4 sacks his rookie year. Maybe there's something there. They did sign a new defensive tackle, Jordan Riley, off the New York Giants practice squad. Maybe he provides something inside, but I think, like you said, Gil, where it's probably going to be more of a committee approach to the interior. I think you're going to see a lot more A-gap blitzes, whether it's Quay Walker or Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie, or maybe Tyron Hopper gets in there. You move Micah Parsons around a little bit. You have him rush from the inside. I think that's going to be probably the wisest approach when it comes to getting a pass rush from the inside, is just more blitzes on the interior of that defensive line coming up.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Carl Brooks probably gives you the best chance of getting some push from the interior, but, he is no Devonte Wyatt, or at least he hasn't proven yet that he can do it the way Devonte Wyatt does it. I mean, there's a reason Wyatt was the undisputed starter, right? So
yeah,
it is going to be tough to replace him. And, you've heard Micah Parsons at different times over the season, at least twice that I can recall, mentioning the difference when Devonte Wyatt was in there getting pressure up the middle, how that helps him and Rashawn Gary and Kingsley Enagbare coming off the edge, because the quarterback can't step up and escape it doesn't even have to be a quarterback hit coming from the middle. It just has to be, I'm here and I'm in your face, and you can't just step up and throw the ball. So it's a big loss, but that doesn't mean the Packers can't find a way. Jeff Hafley is an imaginative, creative defensive coordinator, and if anybody could find a way to dance around this loss and sort of be effective despite it, I think Hafley is the guy. Now, it may take him a little while, but hopefully not too long.
Warren Brinson, we got to mention him too. He's a guy who's gotten better. A late round pick by the Packers this past April, who he's quietly improved, Gil. Like, he's really starting to relish, but you got to think a lot of that had to do with Devonte Wyatt's presence next to him as well. But now it's a matter of where it's kind of like when you played the high school or the college level, where it's like, hey, you're no longer a junior, you're now a senior, or, it's like you're no longer a freshman, you're now sophomores. It's kind of like now where it's like Warren Brinson, Nas Stackhouse, you guys aren't rookies anymore. You guys are veterans now, and it's time to take another level because we need all hands on deck in the interior D line for sure. You hope to get Lucas Van Ness back eventually too, just from the pass rush on the inside. But I think you're going to see a lot of Kingsley Enagbare coming in on passing downs, and you're going to see Parsons. You're going to see Micah Parsons move all over, which the Packers have done that quite a bit, even with Devonte Wyatt in there, and they will continue to do that even more. And I think you're going to see a lot more inside rushes from Micah Parsons, because I think that's got to be the scariest thing for an opposing quarterback, is seeing number one coming right at them, right down the middle.
Yeah, and they love to line him up behind the nose tackle and let him pick a gap aside on the A gap. So I think we'll see that. And would it shock me before Lucas Van Ness returns to see Rashawn Gary line up on the interior for a couple of plays? Yeah. Hafley finds a way. Let me put it to you that way.
I think Rashawn Gary, that's something where I hope he's open to that, where I think him being an interior pass rusher could be a huge benefit to the Green Bay Packers moving forward. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this D-line is constructed and how they do move forward, because Devonte Wyatt, it's a massive loss. The Packers picked up his fifth-year rookie option, but after last season, rightfully so, because he's earning himself. He's essentially, in my opinion, Gil, he's earned himself a second contract with the Packers, and I really hope he does get it. I hope this injury doesn't really derail him too much or anything, but luckily, it's, if you want to look at the bright side, it's not an ACL, it's not an Achilles. It's an injury that he's going to be ready to go probably by mini camp and OTAs next year. So hopefully not a long-term debilitating injury for him.
Hope not, because we definitely could use him back. And he's signed for 2026. And then, the Packers were allegedly working on an extension or a second contract with him beyond the fifth-year option. Mm-hmm. Same with Quay Walker, but we'll see how that all plays out.
And again, in case you just missed it, the Packers, they did sign defensive tackle Jordan Riley to the Packers 53-man roster this week from the Giants practice squad. He takes the spot of wide receiver Will Shepherd, who was released earlier this week. Now, Devonte Wyatt isn't officially on the injured reserve list. He'll probably be on either within the next 48 hours before Sunday's game. You got to think that Jaden Reed's probably going to be activated for Sunday's game against the Bears. At least you hope so. But with Jordan Riley, former seventh-round pick in the 2023 NFL draft, has played 21 NFL games in his first two NFL seasons, 20 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 1 quarterback hit. What's the expectation you have for a guy like Jordan Riley? A rotational D lineman at best, but hopefully he gives you something. Hopefully he could be our Howard Green, Gil.
Yeah, I mean, look, his scouting report, he looks more like a nose tackle, like a run stuffer than a pass rusher. Yeah. You mentioned he has no sacks, 1 quarterback hit in 21 NFL games. So I'm not expecting a lot of push up the middle, but if he could help the run defense, and if he could be a rotational guy that allows some of the other players to stay fresh and gives you quality snaps, maybe more in running situations, I think he could be a solid pickup.
I'll give Brian Gutekunst, the GM for the Packers, this, man. He knows how to find good talent on other teams' practice squads. So I have no reason but to trust Gutekunst, and hopefully Jordan Riley helps the Packers get to where we want to go, essentially. Now with the Packers injury report so far this week, not practicing this week includes Lucas Van Ness, who seemed to have essentially wasn't completely ready to return from that foot injury. Savion Williams has a practice this week. Javon Bullard, who's had a very good year at the nickel, he was limited on Wednesday with an ankle injury, did not practice on Thursday. That's certainly something to monitor right there, Gil. Limited so far this week, Carl Brooks, Edrin Cooper, who actually practiced in full on Thursday, Matthew Golden, who missed the Thanksgiving game and the game against the Vikings, Nate Hobbs, he's been out for a few weeks. Maybe he takes the spot of Javon Bullard at the nickel. That's where he really excelled when he was with the Raiders. He's been limited this week. Josh Jacobs, who seemed to be on a snap count on Thanksgiving Day. He did play on Thanksgiving, but seemed to be on a snap count, limited so far this week. Jaden Reed, he's in that designation to return window, that 21-day practice window. He's been limited, as well as Zach Tom and Dontavian Wicks. Dontavian Wicks, the hero on Thanksgiving Day. And then full participants this week. Jordan Love still listed with a left shoulder injury, but he's been practicing in full. Barron Sorrell was limited, like Edrin Cooper, on Wednesday, but practiced in full on Thursday. Quay Walker, limited Wednesday, upgrade to a full participant on Thursday. He's missed the last 2 games with a stinger and neck injury. Gil, that would be huge to get Quay Walker back, especially for the team coming into town. That's the Chicago Bears, the division leading, the NFC conference leading Chicago Bears. Yeah. Now, Gil, before we get into that matchup, though, the 21-day practice window, it's open for Jaden Reed. It's also opened up for Colin Oliver, who was a 5th-round pick by the Packers this past April, Brenton Cox Jr., who was placed on IR after game 1, and running back Marshawn Lloyd. Those 3 guys have all been limited this week. Lloyd was injured in the Packers' second preseason game at Indianapolis. He played only 10 total snaps during his rookie season in 2024. Let's just start with Marshawn Lloyd real quick, Gil. What can we expect, and what do you hope for? What do you realistically expect if Marshawn Lloyd were to return this year?
I hope what he gives you is a change of pace back. Josh Jacobs, if he's healthy, is going to be the number 1 guy. But what Marshawn Lloyd could do, because as much as I like Emmanuel Wilson, he runs in a similar style to Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd gives you a completely different type of runner. He is more of an outside runner, a one-cut runner, a guy who could, get that home run, big splash play by running the football.
He's got home run speed.
Yeah, he's got that kind of speed if he could ever stay on the field. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's what I would expect. Maybe 5 or 6 carries, 1 or 2 targets a game, play a series or 2, but be that change of pace guy.
His burst is unbelievable. It really is. We saw him just a little bit last year in the regular season against the Colts, ironically, who he got injured against in the preseason. But I mean, the guy, he seems like a great kid. And it's just, you can't help but feel terrible for him because every time he's been hit with every kind of injury imaginable for a running back that has just kept him out so far, 1.5, 2 years into his NFL career. But you've seen the burst, what he can do. And it just seems like if he's healthy, he could be a bigger Darren Sproles. If you remember Darren Sproles, man, just the change of, like you said, Gil, the change of pace back, that skill set, the burst, the speed that Darren Sproles had. And Darren Sproles is 5'5", 5'6", but man, was he effective. And he was effective in the passing game. He was a good runner out of the backfield. Marshawn Lloyd could be that for the Green Bay Packers because no one else has that burst and that skill set that Marshawn Lloyd has. And you just hope that he can get right and get ready to go. And I hope he's ready essentially for the last 3 weeks and get him geared up for the playoffs. But that's what I'm hoping for. But you can't rely on it just because he just hasn't been out there.
One game in almost 2 full seasons, comes back in the preseason, injures himself again. It's been a frustrating ride. They sent him to a specialist to try to see if there were any imbalances that were contributing to these constant injuries. And let's hope they figure that out.
I just want to see whatever game that he starts playing in, I want to see him finish healthy.
Yes.
And it's baby steps, but that's what we need. Hey, it could be maybe with this situation, I'm hoping it's Mike Flanagan 2.0, where Mike Flanagan could not get on the field early in his career for the Packers. And then the Packers stuck with him and he turned into a hell of a player. And wasn't he, Gil? He was essentially traded to the Carolina Panthers, but then he failed that physical. So he stayed with the Packers because of that.
Yeah. And Act 2 was much better than Act 1. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and let's just hope for similar luck with Marshawn Lloyd. I hope it's sooner than 4 years. I hope he's on the field in a few weeks, but
Yes.
just hoping for the best there. And then real quick, Gil, what's your expectations? Do you think Brenton Cox Jr. and Colin Oliver see the field at all the rest of the season coming up?
If they're ready, I could see it. And I think some of it may depend also on how healthy and how quickly Lucas Van Ness is available, because there's only so many roster spots out there. If Van Ness is out, I think it's very, very likely one of them two, if not both, will see some sort of action on the roster. But again, they have to be ready also. So the fact that they're opening the window is good, but we have to see them get through that window and pass all the tests and be ready to go. To me, Cox would be a very interesting addition just because he was really showing a lot last year. And I was eager to see how he would do when they added Micah Parsons. His opportunities obviously got reduced even before the injury. But I would love to, have him as a situational pass rusher. I think would be a great addition.
Cox is a talent, man. He's a former 5-star recruit out of high school for a reason, man. He's got a lot of talent, but he's the guy I think that we're going to see eventually come back this year, Gil. I really do. I think Colin Oliver, they may activate him, but I think he's just going to be inactive, and it's going to be a redshirt year for him. Remember, he was a bit of an undersized defensive end coming out of college as well. And I just think they're gonna use this time to bulk him up a little bit and get him ready for year 2. Essentially, this feels like a redshirt year for Colin Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, if they activate him, I could see him on special teams, that kind of a thing, but probably a minimal number of defensive snaps. If the Packers are really ahead by a lot or are behind by a lot late in the game, could he go out there for a few plays? Sure. But if everybody stays healthy, I don't see him seeing the field on defense very much. Not right away.
Yeah, no, not for sure. And we'll see. Hopefully we'll see all those guys pretty soon, but maybe not this weekend. The Bears, the Packers, 9-3 Bears, 8-3-1 Packers. They match up this weekend at Lambeau Field. This game was flexed from noon to 3:25. So it's the big game in the NFC, I feel like, coming up this weekend, Gil. Let's break it down real quick. The Bears offense against the Packers defense. Let's start on those sides of the ball. Chicago's total offense this year, they've been pretty darn good with new head coach Ben Johnson, former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. 6th in total offense this year. Green Bay 4th in total defense. Chicago's offense 8th in scoring, 15th in passing, 2nd in rushing. That's a Ben Johnson staple. His offenses always run the ball really well. Green Bay defensively 6th best in scoring, 6th best against the pass, tied for 7th against the run. Gil, this is where the big matchups are going to happen. This is where the game, I feel like, is going to be decided on Sunday. What's a matchup that we got to look forward to between the Bears offense and the Packers defense?
I think the front 7 of the Packers against the offensive line of the Chicago Bears, they have a darn good offensive line, and they win by running the football. So can the Packers, minus Devonte Wyatt, slow down that running attack of the Chicago Bears? It's a two-headed monster, and it's a very good two-headed monster. Mm-hmm. You've got DeAndre Swift is sort of the lead, and then Kyle Monangai, who isn't that far behind. Both of them averaging nearly 5 yards a rush, and to me, you got to slow down that running game and make Caleb Williams beat you with his arm.
Right now, again, and I had noted where the Bears rushing offense is 2nd in the league right now. I think they're the best running offense in football right now. The way that they're playing, the way they were able to run on the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that the Packers struggled mightily running the ball against over a few weeks ago. My goodness, like the Packers, they better be ready to roll, man, because I like the Packers front 7. I'll take them with pretty much anybody, but this Bears offense, this Bears rushing attack is legit. And you mentioned Swift. You mentioned Kyle Monangai. Swift is averaging 4.8 yards per carry. Monangai averaging 4.9 yards per carry. They've rushed for more than 1,300 yards combined this year. They've both rushed for 5 touchdowns. Swift is more of a threat in the passing game. 25 receptions, 237 receiving yards this year. Chicago ball carriers in general averaging 4.9 yards per carry. That's tied for 5th in the NFL. Green Bay opposing ball carriers, their defense is allowing only 3.9 yards per carry. That's also tied for 5th in the NFL. So that's metal against metal right there, Gil. It's going to be a good matchup.
It is a matchup I am really looking forward to seeing, and having a healthy Quay Walker would be a big addition. You got the speed of Cooper and Walker, and then the football smarts of Isaiah McDuffie. That those being your linebackers, hopefully they're up for the challenge.
Yeah, and I'll say the matchup that I'm looking forward to watching outside of that one, Gil, it's their quarterback Caleb Williams against the Packers gap discipline and Jeff Hafley. I feel like Jeff Hafley, the plan that they had against J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota was so good, where they crowd the line of scrimmage and they force Caleb Williams to win with his arm. And I feel like you got to have a similar game plan against Caleb Williams. Or Caleb Williams is I'm not saying Caleb Williams is J.J. McCarthy. He's a much better player right now than J.J. McCarthy. But Caleb Williams is only completing 58% of his passes this year, Gil. It's been a struggle accuracy-wise. He's still averaging about 226.8 yards per game, has thrown 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, an 88.2 passer rating. But he's a threat running the ball. He has 306 rushing yards and 3 rushing TDs, but he's also fumbled a lot. He has 5 fumbles this year, too. And the big thing with Green Bay, man, they keep everything in front of them. They got to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket. They got to keep everything in front of them. And contain is going to be so important against this team. And it starts with Caleb Williams for Chicago. They got to limit him right away.
Absolutely. Can't let him run for big yards and pick up key first downs. Make him beat you with his arm. And the thing about Caleb Williams, very talented, great arm strength. As you mentioned, the accuracy not quite there yet. It could develop as he gets more comfortable in, reading NFL defenses and with the playbook. But he holds on to the ball. They like to try to go deep. They like to, extend plays. You can't let him do that. You cannot let him have those splash plays. Make him go down the field on a 10, 12 play drive and earn it.
Yeah, it's Jeff Hafley's got to get creative with the blitzes too, especially without Devonte Wyatt now. They gotta get really creative. But I think the solution, I think what's going to help them win is if they can crowd that line of scrimmage and try to make Caleb Williams throw over you. And the Packers, thing is, their quarterback play obviously is kind of suspect on defense. With Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon, they've had their moments, but there's been a lot of negatives there too. But Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney are great at safety, and nobody throws anything over those guys because they're so good, and they're honestly one of the best safety duos maybe in pro football right now. You got to have that same approach though. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. Keep everything in front. Green Bay, they just don't let explosive plays happen. I mean, opposing quarterbacks are only averaging 6.2 yards per attempt this year against the Packers. That's second in the league. And opposing receivers are only averaging 9.3 yards per reception. That's number 1 in the NFL. The Packers got to make the Bears grind for it, but they got to stop the run, and they got to keep Caleb Williams in the pocket.
Absolutely.
And now let's switch sides of the ball for both teams. The Packers offense against the Bears defense. Green Bay's offense, 13th ranked in the NFL this year. Chicago's defense, 27th in total defense. Green Bay's scoring offense, they're 10th in scoring, 13th in passing, 16th in rushing. Chicago's defense, 25th in scoring, 22nd against the pass, and 28th against the run. Gil, this is an interesting unit for Chicago where they have Dennis Allen, who's a well-known and well-respected defensive coordinator, does a lot of crazy exotic stuff. They get a lot of turnovers. They feast on taking the ball away, but there's some holes here that the Packers could really exploit. What's a matchup that we can look forward to between the Packers offense and the Bears defense?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it will be vital for the Packers not to turn the ball over. As you mentioned, the Bears defense is 28th in rushing defense, 22nd in passing, and 27th overall in yards per game. But they happen to be the NFL's leader with 17 interceptions through 12 games. If Jordan Love, who has only, knock wood, thrown 3 interceptions all season, can not throw any on Sunday, and the Packers hold on to the ball, if they are -1 or better in the turnover ratio, they should be able to move the football on the Chicago Bears. And the Bears pass rush is not very good.
I agree, Gil. It's Montez Sweat is kind of the straw that serves the drink for the Bears pass rush, though, where he has 36 total tackles, 7.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, has forced 3 fumbles, has 5 pass deflections this year. That's near the tops for all the categories statistically for the Bears. And the Packers, the thing is, I have confidence going against Montez Sweat because they had a great game plan and great execution against Aiden Hutchinson twice this year, a fellow division rival. And you got to have something ready, similarly ready for Montez Sweat. And if you can have a good game plan against a Montez Sweat and good execution on top of that as well, like they did against Aiden Hutchinson twice, that's going to be huge for the Packers. And I hope this feels like to me, because the Bears front seven has not been very good. And you mentioned against the run, Gil, they're allowing opposing ball carriers to rush for 5.2 yards per carry. That's tied for second worst in the NFL. This could be a big Josh Jacobs day coming up on Sunday.
It could be, and, it may depend on whether he's still on some kind of a pitch count. But here's the other sort of X factor. It's supposed to be in the teens at kickoff, and it's probably going to get colder as the game goes on. Does that almost force the Packers to run the ball more, because it will be hard to throw what will probably feel like a leather rock on Sunday evening?
I do trust Jordan Love to throw the ball in the cold, though. I think Jordan Love, it's like I prefer dome-like conditions, obviously, when it comes to throwing for the offenses for offensive purposes and everything. But Jordan Love is not bad throwing the ball in the cold or in the rain. In bad conditions, like Jordan Love is not bad at that. And I think that's why Green Bay was so interested in him when obviously they end up using a first-round pick on him in 2020, where he can handle the elements. And this is something where maybe the Packers, they run the ball effectively. It opens up the play action game. It opens up things for Christian Watson, who's really become the top target in the receiving game. You may get Matthew Golden back. You may get Jaden Reed back this weekend. So there's a lot I feel like this Packers offense could do to attack this Bears defense. But it just feels like it should be a big Josh Jacobs game if the Packers can keep running the ball better like they have the last few weeks.
Yeah, and it's key. And again, that matchup between the Packers offensive line, which has struggled at times to open holes for the run, against a shaky Bears run defense. One thing I do like that I've seen from the Packers, they've won their last 3 games. When you moved Anthony Belton to right guard and you moved Sean Ryan to center, those guys can be big and nasty. They will come at you. And Aaron Banks is healthy again. So the interior of that Packers offensive line is just big, strong, and tough. And that is a matchup within a matchup that I think could be to the Packers' advantage come Sunday.
It's a wide interior right now. I mean, you got a guy with the nickname of Escalade at right guard. It's like it's a wide interior, Gil, and it's been a good thing. Where again, it's like I know Anthony Belton has essentially taken the reins on the right guard job. I'm still not giving up on Jordan Morgan because I just think he's a tackle. I think he's better suited as an offensive tackle, but he's a solid 6th offensive lineman to have, if in case someone does go down. You're playing Darian Kennard a lot more as that 6th offensive lineman, though, in place of the tight end, which is, I think, a really wise approach. I think you're going to see Darian Kennard a lot on Sunday.
I think so, too. I think this is going to be old-fashioned smash-mouth football. I think somewhere George Halas and Vincent Thomas Lombardi will smile as they watch this game.
They're going to they're probably cracking a couple cold ones up high, and just like sitting on their lounge chairs and just watching on their old or listening on the radio. Maybe they don't have smart TVs up there, So, but let's go over some stats and figures real quick before we get to some predictions and the Bears injury report as well. Turnover ratio this year, the Packers are +4. The Bears are whopping +17. They're the only NFL team with a turnover ratio better than +10 this season. They lead the NFL with 26 takeaways. They only have 9 giveaways. That's tied for fewest in the NFL, while the Packers, they only have 7 giveaways. That's fewest in the NFL. So a bit of strength versus strength coming up on Sunday, potentially. Penalties this year. Green Bay, 93 total penalties. That's tied for 14th fewest in the league. Chicago, they are penalized a lot. 108 penalties this year. That's 6th most in the NFL. Third downs. Green Bay's offense, 1st and 3rd down conversion rate at 49.3%. Defensively, 38.5%. That's tied for 17th. Chicago's offense, they're pretty good on 3rd down as well. 43.9% on 3rd down. That's 6th in the league. 36.2 on defense. That's 7th in the NFL. And then red zone touchdown percentage. Green Bay's offense, 67.4%. That's 3rd in the league. Defensively, 59.4%. That's 21st. Chicago's offense in the red zone, 58.5%. 15th in the league. 61% on defense. That's 26th in the NFL. And then the Bears injury report. So far, not practicing at all this week. Includes number 1 wide receiver Rome Odunze and quarterback Tyreek Stevenson. Limited so far this week. The notables are linebacker TJ Edwards and running back Kyle Monangai. Monangai did not practice on Wednesday. He was upgraded to limited on Thursday, so that's good news for the Bears. And then full participant this week includes cornerback Jalen Johnson, who just returned from IR recently, defensive tackle Andrew Billings, defensive end Dominique Robinson, and linebacker Noah Sewell. And then on the IR and PUP list for the Bears includes offensive lineman Kieran Amagaji, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, running back Roshan Johnson, offensive tackle Braxton Jones, defensive end Deo Odeyingbo, defensive back Terrell Smith, and defensive lineman Shamar Turner. So quite a lengthy list right there for the Bears. Gil, why do the Packers win on Sunday?
Packers win if they don't turn the ball over and if they just establish the running game and stop the running game.
Keep Caleb Williams in the pocket, take care of the football, finish drives in the end zone, and control the clock on offense. That's why the Packers will win on Sunday. Why do they lose?
Packers lose if they lose the turnover battle and if Caleb Williams can not have to beat the Packers with his arm.
The loss of Devonte Wyatt proves to be much greater significance than we think. And I think that could be a big factor why the Packers lose. And also the Bears, they generate turnovers like they have all year. And that proves to be a big difference in the game. What's your prediction for Sunday, Gil?
I think the Packers will get it done. I think this is going to be a dogfight. I think it'll go down to the wire. But I have Packers 28, Bears 24.
I'm going to stick with the theme of me picking against the Packers because I want to be proven wrong again. So I'm picking the Bears. I do think it's going to be a close game. I think the Bears, though, they're playing their best football right now, and they're getting some key guys healthy at the right time. I think the Bears win 24-20. Ben Johnson is known to be very creative and have stuff planned out ahead of time. I feel like he's going to have a few tricks up his sleeve coming into this game against the Packers and do some plays that maybe the Packers have yet to see this year from them. And I feel like he's saving it just for this game. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think the Bears win 24-20. Gil, before we wrap up with some trivia, what articles do you have coming up online for the Packers Post and Cheesehead TV?
For the Packers Post, I took a look at maybe some ways the Packers could try to deal with the loss of Devonte Wyatt. And over on Cheesehead TV, talked about Christian Watson and how he has kind of established himself as the number 1 receiver in recent weeks.
Christian Watson's on my fantasy team. He's making me very happy lately. The amount of targets he's getting, a very good thing. As long as he doesn't get dragged down, pulled down by one arm by opposing DBs, then it's like he'll probably be able to catch the football, you know?
Yeah.
So, Gil, you ready for some trivia?
I am ready for the trivia.
All right. Well, disclaimer here real quick. This trivia question is courtesy of Ken Ingalls on the Twitterverse, an excellent follow for Packers and NFL cap rules. So going to give credit where the credit is due. Anywho, on to the trivia. Following the season-ending injury to Devonte Wyatt, the Packers signed defensive tackle Jordan Riley off of the Giants practice squad. He's the second player the Packers have signed to the 53-man roster this season who was not under contract with the Packers as of their Week 1 game at home against Detroit. Gil, besides Jordan Riley, name the other player to be signed to the Packers 53-man roster this season who was not under contract with the Packers as of Week 1. And under contract, again, that means practice squad, 53-man roster, IR, anything.
So was not with the Packers in any way, shape, or form.
Correct.
Ha 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 ha.
There's been a lot of roster movement. I know. It's like
there has been, and that's what's making this a challenge. And is still on the roster right now.
He is still employed by the Packers.
Well, then it's got to be the kicker, who's on the practice squad. Jeez. Now I'm blanking out. Haversick.
Yes, you got it. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. I knew you'd get there eventually. It is kicker Lucas Haversick. He was a street free agent and soon to be substitute teacher before getting the call to be the Packers starting kicker in place of the previously injured Brandon McManus. Haversick, he's making the most of his short time as the Packers starting kicker, or he made the most of his short time as the starting kicker. He went 4 for 4 on field goal attempts. Not too great on extra points, especially in New York, but he had a franchise record 61-yard field goal in the Packers win over the Arizona Cardinals earlier this season. Let's hope for some good returns from Riley and the Packers defense from here on out, because I think they're going to need him a lot more than they needed Haversick. Well, maybe a similar amount at the time when they had Haversick lining up as the kicker, but they're going to need Jordan Riley quite a bit more than Lucas Haversick earlier this year.
We will see how he does and whether he's even active this week, but I think there's a good chance he is.
Yeah, it just all depends on the health of the rest of the D tackles coming up, especially with Lucas Van Ness still nursing that foot injury. I think we may see him play. a little bit. But the Bears, they're 9-3. They lead the NFC North. They lead the entire NFC in general. So far this season, the Packers are 8-3-1. They kick off from Lambeau Field on Sunday at 3:25 Central Time. First of 2 games in the next 3 weeks against these guys. And a few weeks, that game got moved to prime time on Saturday Night Football.
Saturday, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. This is the Packers they already swept the Lions this year. They're 3-0 against the division as a whole. Let's get to 4-0, man. Let's put the clamps on this division. Sunday's a good time to start.
Would be a very, very big win for either team. So a lot at stake, and it's great, quite honestly, to see this rivalry heating up again.
Oh yeah, but go Pack, go all the way, man. Let's leave no doubt.
Without question. All right, well, that is going to do it for today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter @Packers. Stay up to date on all things Packers, or to ask us questions, or you can email us at gbpackerssean@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to Packers Talk on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Big thanks to PackersTalk.com for powering our show. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.